Alright, so this will be my final video, and I will cover problems 11 and problem 12 in this video. Before I get started, I should say on the last problem, let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on one second. The last problem, we said that the average velocity is 128 feet per second. That's right, but don't forget it should be negative 128 feet per second because it's going down. So on the last problem, on 5, I think it was 5A, it's negative. I think we said a negative 128 feet per second. You might want to check that. I'm pretty sure it's 128. Just remember, it has to be negative. It's going down. If anything's going down, it's a negative velocity. Okay, so that was that last problem. I forgot to put that negative out front. But that's what that was. Okay, let's go to problem 11. Problem 11 says, find the marginal profit for producing X units. All right, and here's the function it gives me. P equals, I'll just copy it over, negative 0.1 x cubed plus 30 x squared minus 161.45 x minus 2,000. And this one says, find the marginal profit for producing X units. Marginal profit would be the additional profit that you get for producing X units. It's the additional profit. Whenever in calculus you see marginal anything, marginal profit, marginal revenue, that's another indication you need to take the derivative. So I'm going to take the derivative of this function, and I'm just going to use the power rule. So right here, I'm going to take the derivative of the function by taking the derivative of each of these. The derivative of this first one, using the power rule, I'm going to bring the 3 to the front. 3 times negative 0.1 is negative 0.3 x. And remember the power rule, we subtract 1 from that exponent. So it's going to be a 2. Then I'm going to go plus. I'm going to put the 2 to the front. 30 times 2, that's 60 x. And then again, power rule, we subtract a 1 from the exponent. That's going to be a 1. Now I go minus. And then right here, if you just have an x and you're taking the derivative, it's the power rule. There's a 1 as the exponent. You're bringing it to the front. So it's just going to be this number. And then you subtract a 1 from that 1. It's going to be a 0. X to 0 is 1. Basically, if you just have an x and you're taking the derivative and you don't have a square or 3, all you have is an x, the derivative's always going to be this number out front. So the derivative of that is going to be negative or minus 161.45. And finally, the derivative of 2,000, as we've seen in the other problems, whenever you have the derivative of just a number, doesn't have an x or anything, it's just a 0. Okay? And this is your derivative. And this is your answer, because it says, what is the marginal profit for producing X units? So there's nothing to plug into the X. So we just leave it as an X, because it said X units. So there's nothing to plug in. This is your answer. That right there is your answer. So on problem 11, where it says dp dx, whenever you see this right here, this is another way to write derivative. So this is the derivative equals, and then you have your box. In your box, you're going to put negative 0.3 x squared plus 60x minus 161.45, and that's your answer for problem 11. That's all there is to it. You just take the derivative. So it's that right there. It's good. Problem number 12. Problem 12, we got two parts. I'm going to go ahead and read through it. It says the revenue R in dollars from renting X apartments can be modeled by this function. I'm going to go ahead and write down the function. It is R equals 2x 500 plus 32x minus x squared. Okay. And that's my function. That tells me the revenue. That's what that R is. From renting X apartments. Part A says find the additional revenue when the number of rentals is increased from 14 to 15. The additional revenue. So all I'm going to do, first thing, I'm going to put a 14 into my X. I'm going to figure out how much revenue I received from renting 14 apartments. So I'm going to put a 14 into all my X's. So 2 times 14 times 500 plus 32 times 14 minus 14 squared. I'm going to see what that equals. You just put that in your calculator. I'm going to put it in my calculator real quick. And I'm going to see what that revenue is from renting 14 apartments. That won't be my answer, but it's going to be a step in getting the answer. So it's going to be 2 times 14 times 500 plus 32 times 14 minus 14 squared. And I'm getting, when I plug it into my calculator, make sure I put all my numbers in right. It's easy to type a number in wrong. Yep, that's right. So the revenue from renting 14 apartments is $21,056. But that's not my answer. It wants what is the additional revenue when the number of rentals increased from 14 to 15. So I need to also find out what is the revenue that results from renting 15 apartments. So I'm going to put 15 into the X, and I'm going to figure out what was the revenue from renting 15 apartments. And I'm going to plug that into my calculator. So hold on one second. 32 times 15 minus 15 squared. And I'm getting 22,650. Okay. So let me kind of recap what I did here. This was the original function. This gives me the revenue from renting a certain number of apartments. Using this function, I figured out how much revenue results from renting 14 apartments. This much revenue. Then I figured out how much revenue results from renting 15 apartments. This much revenue. But the question is, find the additional revenue when the number of rentals is increased from 14 to 15. The additional revenue is going to be the difference between these two numbers. So I'm going to take this number here, and I'm going to subtract this number here. That will be the additional revenue I got from renting 15 apartments over what I got when I rented 14 apartments. So I'm going to subtract these two numbers. And when I do that, I'm going to get 22,650 minus 21,056. I'm getting 1594 when I do that. And that is your answer for 12A. That is your answer for 12A. This right here. I'm also going to find out what is my answer for 12B. Let's see what 12B is asking. It says find the marginal revenue when X equals 14. I just said in the last problem, you ever see marginal? That means you need to take the derivative. So I'm going to look at my original function, which is 2x times 500 plus 32x minus x squared. And I'm going to take the derivative of this. And I'm going to use that derivative to help me find the marginal revenue. Before I take the derivative, I'm going to make it a little bit easier by distributing this 2x. Okay, I'm going to take that 2x, I'm going to distribute it and see what I get. 2x times 500 is going to be 1000x. Then I'm going to go 2x times 32x. 2x times 32x is going to be 64 plus 64x squared, because x times x is x squared. Then I'm going to go 2x times x squared, sorry. 2x times x squared is going to be 2x cubed. So it's going to be minus 2x cubed. So all I did is I distributed the 2x, because when I do that, it's going to make finding the derivative easier. And now I'm going to take the derivative. To find the derivative, I just do the power rule. If I just have an x term, the derivative is just the number out front. I just have an x, it doesn't have a 2 or 3 or 4, it's just an x. The derivative is going to be 1,000 plus, then I'm going to take the derivative of this. Remember, I put the 2 to the front. 64 times 2, that's 128. And with the power rule, I subtract 1 from that exponent. So it's going to be x. 2 minus 1 is a 1. And then I drop down my minus. I'm going to put this 3 to the front. 3 times 2 is 6. And then I got my x. I'm going to subtract a 1 from the 3. I'm going to get a square. So that's my derivative. 100 plus 128x minus 6x squared. And I need to find the marginal revenue when x equals 14. So I just put a 14 into my derivative wherever I see an x. So it won't be 128 times x. It'll be 128 times 14 minus 6. It won't be x squared. It will now be 14 squared. I'm going to put that into my calculator real quick and see what I get. I'm going to get 1,000 plus 128 times 14 minus 6 times 14 squared. And when I do that, I get 16. Let me just double check, make sure I put all my numbers in right. Minus 6, 14 squared, yeah, 16. So this is 12C. The answer to 12C is 1616. That's your marginal revenue. Now, that's B, 12B. 12B is this. Part C says compare the results of Part A and Part B. If I compare them, Part B was 1616, Part A was 1594. Those are pretty close. 1594 is pretty close to 1616, so the Part C should be the answers are close. And kind of to tell you what's going on there, Part A, you are finding that exact marginal revenue. That is exact. It is 1594. Part B, you're using the derivative to estimate what that marginal revenue is, what that additional revenue is. So when you're using the derivative, it's an estimate. And as we can see, that estimate's pretty close. 1594 is pretty close to 1616. So C, the answers are close. And that, I believe, was all the problems. Again, if you have any questions at all, give me a call. We can Zoom, and you can answer all. You can ask all the questions you want, and I'll try to help you out. All right. Talk to you later.